Hello everyone! I am here in the children's room at our little bookstore. I thought it'd be fun to do a year-end video in the bookstore that took up so much of my time this year. And this is actually a very fun, particular one to do because I am talking about series that I have finished or caught up to, as many as are currently available to read this year in the year of 2021. So these are in no particular order again, but I wanted to talk sort of about my journey with these series and how I felt about the endings of them. Thought that'd be fun, so let's talk about it. First up, I finally finished the Witcher series by Andrzej Sapkowski. I have such complicated thoughts and feelings about this series. You can go and check out my reviews for Sword of Destiny and Last Wish. I think that's some of the best fantasy you can read. The themes are incredibly well developed and yet also subtle. The characters are memorable and immediately engrossing. The story is original. The world feels lived in, and yet they're not like huge tomes. I think each one is like around 300 pages. Just loved them. I gave 5 stars to both, or best all time in my rating system. Like, I just absolutely loved those first 2 books, and I was ready for this to be like one of my favorite series of all time. Then the rest of the series happened, and not only did I not like them, like Blood of Elves I didn't like, but I didn't hate. It was kind of meandering, but if it had gone somewhere, it would have been worth it. But by the end of the series, Lady of the Lake, is that the name of the last one? I'm already forgetting, but I really disliked it. As soon as he pulled away from the Geralt and Ciri relationship and story, and that sort of, not Monster of the Week, because I think it was all connected, but sort of the episodic nature of the overarching theme into like trying to do a more overarching story, it just got so convoluted. I think even the like prose and writing got worse. Didn't feel like Sapkowski knew where it was going. Like, even down to simple things that I think were silly, like repeating the name of the book over and over and over again. Like, Time of Contempt in Time of Contempt is said so many times. Like, it was a time of contempt. Like, it's just... I would recommend to people read those first 2 and then just pretend that it's a duology. Fantastically written, one of the best of all time. Don't read the rest of the series. Truly don't. I just think it makes the whole thing... Let's move on to another series that I read this year, and I read for the 8th time, The Lord of the Rings, my favorite or second favorite novels of all time. I said a whole ton about this. I already have one video out, The Fellowship of the Ring, like just some observations I have, and I've already filmed 2 others with the other 2 that will come out probably sometime in January. So you'll hear me talk a lot about Lord of the Rings, so I won't say too much except that I love it. If you haven't read it, please read it. It's different than a lot of fantasy, and honestly, in a lot of ways, it's like just a story of people traveling, but it's just beautifully written. There's a reason that it is one of the most adored books of all time. Quickly, I finished it, or I caught up, I should say, because I think more coming out with the Bauchelain and Korbal Broach short story collection. So this is a short series based in the Malazan world around 2 necromancers, Bauchelain and Korbal Broach, that's why it's called that. And this series is very much Erikson's sort of letting himself off the leash, so to speak, for some of his weirder and kind of bizarre ideas, kind of the weirder elements of his imagination that definitely come out in his main books, but not quite to the same extent. I think he's able to pour that into the Bauchelain and Korbal Broach books, and I can see why as an author these would be so fun to write and he would enjoy them. However, I will say for the most part they're not my favorite, definitely not my favorite part of the Malazan world, and also didn't wholly enjoy them. I mean, they're short stories, so some of them are good and better than others. My favorite is The Healthy Dead, and I think Malazan fans should at least read that one, because I think it's very, very good. But for the most part, you know, I would say take it or leave it depending on how you like Erikson's writing. If you like some more of those crazy elements or weird elements in his story, like he definitely gets to take some of that on in these stories. So I'll just leave that there. But I'm glad I caught up with them in my continual attempt to try to catch up with all of the Malazan books that are out there. I also finished the Expanse series. So the 9th book, Leviathan Falls, was released in December. I actually bought the audiobook because I enjoyed the audiobook of that series so much. You can check out my video I just dropped about my favorite audiobooks of 2021. The Expanse is definitely on there. Finished the series. I thought it was very satisfying as an ending. It didn't blow me away, but it was a satisfying ending, especially from a character point of view, because I really have loved the characters of the Rocinante. I won't say more particularly about like who lives, who dies, what happens, who gets happy endings, blah, 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 because I don't want to spoil the series, obviously. But I felt like there was very satisfying endings to the end of them, especially because we've been following these characters now for generations. Like I think from the first book to the last, it's like 40 or 50 years. And while there is sort of happy endings for some characters, all of them bear marks and scars, and there are prices to be paid. And yeah, I just really enjoyed, especially how we left the galaxy kind of after everything that happened. So for the most part, I thought it was a very, very satisfying series for sure, and ending as well. So read The Expanse, and especially, I would say, I've read and listened to the audiobooks. I would say the audiobooks are a great way to do it, especially if you're looking for a way to get into audiobooks. I think it's a really good, just a great series of audiobooks, to be quite honest. 2 more series here that I finished this year. One of them is the Tawny Man trilogy, which is a Robert Hobb trilogy in the Realm of the Elderlings. The 3rd trilogy, so the first one is Farseer trilogy, where we're introduced to Fitz Chivalry Farseer, and then the second one takes place in another part of the world, and that is the Ship of Magic series, or the Live Ship Traders trilogy. Obviously, I love both of those, and this one is the Tawny Man trilogy. Comes back to Fitz and a first-person perspective and the politics of the Six Duchies. As you can probably guess, I love that series. I've posted reviews on here of all of those books. I think they were all best of all times or universal recommends. Just, I mean, Robin Hobb, I've said so much about her on this channel, but her writing, the honesty of her characters, and her insight are utterly unparalleled. I really, I mean, I loved it. It's probably my second favorite right now in the Realm of the Elderlings. Probably goes Live Ship, then Tawny Man, then the Farseer trilogy. So I think if you watch my channel, you've heard me say it a billion times, but I'll say it again. Read Robin Hobb. The final series that I caught up in is a new series for me this year. Right now, there are 3 books that you can read, and that is the Dandelion Dynasty by Ken Liu. This is, and I said on my review, and I'm going to say again here, this is probably the best fantasy that you, the watcher, haven't read or at least tried before. It's a completely unique storytelling angle. A lot of people describe it, and I think I'd agree with them, as sort of a merging of Eastern and Western storytelling methods. And because of that, it does take an adjustment, especially in the first one, The Grace of Kings, which is my favorite in the series. But it'll take you a couple, I don't know, 100 pages or so to kind of get used to what he's doing and how he's telling the story. But once you do, it is so good. The characters are all lovely. It's unexpected. Because so much time is covered in that book, I mean, decades, so many things can happen, and so many different storytelling devices can be used that aren't normally used, are able to be used in fantasy books. Like, technological advances really affect how things are structured, or like diseases or economic conditions changing or trade routes being established, like things that happen over a large period of time that normally can't be covered in a book that's, you know, taking place over like a couple of months or whatever. This book, taking over generations, can fold into that, as well as like full conflicts, not just one war, but like several wars and how each one changes the other. But at the heart of it, it is a character-driven tale about Kunigara and Mata Zindu. I don't want to say more because I didn't know much going into it, and I absolutely loved it. I've caught up to the 3rd book, which came out this year, and the 4th and final book is actually coming out next spring. So this is the perfect time to jump on. I know some of you out there are making your TBRs for the new year or series I want to start in the new year. Please put the Dandelion Dynasty on it. It needs to be read more. It needs to be appreciated and spoken about more. So definitely check out the Dandelion Dynasty. And that's the last series that I caught up with or finished this year. Love 2021. Great reading year, and I'm excited for 2022, especially to get the end of that Dandelion Dynasty quadrilogy. I'm not sure. Cycle? What's it called? What there's for? Anyway, let me know in the comments below which series you finished in 2021 and what series you're reading in 2022. Let's talk full series. And if you've read any of the 6 that I mentioned, mention to me how you thought they ended. Obviously, Lord of the Rings ended. You know what I mean. Let's talk about it. Thank you for watching. As always, subscribe, like this video before you head out. First in, last out.